Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to another edition of Legends of 40K, where I go over one special character per video, and I give you my full in-depth analysis on the character. In this case, we're going back to the Necrons, and we're looking at Anrakyr the Traveler. So let's get right into it. He's 165 points, weapon skill and ballistic skill of 4, strength and toughness of 5, 3 wounds, initiative 2, 3 attacks, leadership 10, 3 plus save. He's unique infantry. He has war gear of Tachyon Arrow and a war scythe. He has special rules: counterattack, ever living, furious charge, independent character, mind of the machine, reanimation, protocols. Dedicated transport. He can take a catacomb command barge as a dedicated transport. And he has Fiery Eternals. If your army includes Anrakyr, one unit of Immortals is automatically upgraded to Fiery Eternals at no additional cost. Kind of cool. So, looking at his more specific stuff, Fiery Eternals, to go over that one real quick, basically the squad of Immortals in one squad, which is automatically upgraded to them, has counterattack and furious charge as well, in addition to being a squad of Immortals. And Mind of the Machine, that's a pretty cool special rule, and basically it happens during your shooting phase. What you get to do is, at the start, it has to be at the start of it, to clarify. You choose an enemy vehicle that is within 18 inches of Anrakyr, and Anrakyr has to have line of sight to it. So if you can't see it, it doesn't work. So 18 inches within line of sight, you roll a d6. On a 3+, he overrides the targeting systems, and you're able to fire with that vehicle. And which is pretty cool. You must immediately fire if he succeeds with that vehicle. You cannot move its facing. You cannot alter it in any way. You can't turn it up, you can't turn or anything. It has to stay exactly like it is. But obviously if it's a sponson or a turret, then it can fire in its fire arc, something like that. It fires as if it has not moved. So even if they blitzed it all the way out, as fast as it can go, if you succeed with Anrakyr, it fires as though it hasn't moved. And it ignores any cruise stone or cruise shaking results the target may be suffering from, but destroyed weapons cannot be fired. Once these shooting attacks have been resolved, the vehicle returns to your opponent's control. Basically, to recap it in a more smooth fashion, if an enemy vehicle is within 18 inches of Anrakyr, and he can see it, you roll a d6 if you choose to do so against that vehicle. On a 3+, he takes control of its weapon systems. You can't move the vehicle at all, but the weapons can fire as if it were your tank for that turn, as if the tank was standing still, so basically fire full out. Now, it ignores cruise stun and shaken, but anything that's destroyed as a weapon cannot be fired for obvious reasons. And then once you're done firing with it, it immediately returns to your opponent's control. That's important because you do it at the beginning of your shooting phase, you fire with it, now it's back to your opponent's control, and now you can shoot it. And that's just two entry-specific special rules that he has. So before I talk about how I would utilize Anrakyr, let's look at his model. And I have to say, this is the coolest Necron HQ model that they make, in my opinion. When I first saw him in the White Dwarf for 6th edition, the one with the Space Marine on the cover, he was in there, in and amongst the 6th edition stuff coming out. And I thought he looked awesome then. And now he's up to order, he still looks awesome. My favorite Necron HQ model. Yes, it's a special character model, but you could easily utilize this, and I would personally, if I would definitely utilize this model as my Necron HQ model in an army if I had one. So, very cool looking. I think his pose is good. I think it's interesting that they went with blue for his energy glowing effects and all that. Normally it's green. But anyways, he just looks very cool. So kudos to the design team for that. Whoever designed and sculpted this model, it looks fantastic. I really like it. So with that being said, let's look at his entry and how I would use him. Now this is where Anrakyr kind of stumbles a little bit, but not in a significant manner where he's unusable, quote unquote. And for the record, real quick, anybody who says any type of character or unit is unusable is wrong. I'm sorry. Normally it's just opinion based, but you're flat out wrong. There's always a way to utilize something, and you can make something that is perceived as being useless as being very useful. It just takes some ingenuity and creative thinking. But anyway, Anrakyr, he's far from being the perfect HQ type, but no HQ type is, and he does stumble a little bit, but he still can make up for it. Firstly, he is a Necron Overlord that's kitted out for close combat. He's got a War Scythe, which is amazing still. It basically works exactly like it did, only is written up differently to have its own stat line, like a ranged weapon does. Still is great. So he has that. He has counterattack and furious charge. No other Necron HQ model has that. But he has no invulnerability save. Now, not super important in terms of being shot at if you place him wisely, but in close combat it can be a bit of an important thing to keep in mind that he doesn't have it. And it just seems like something, if you're gonna be kitted out for assault, you should have at least some type of an invulnerability save, just so you get a chance. And granted, with power weapons working different now, it isn't as crucial, but still something you want to keep in mind. He doesn't have it. And he's got a 3+ armor save, so power weapons are still pretty crucial against him. In fact, if they made him 5 points more expensive or so, and gave him a phase shifter, which is his invulnerability save, I think he'd be fine. As he stands now, you're getting a very good deal for his point cost, in my opinion. You're getting the Tachyon Arrow and the War Scythe, two cool things to have. Counterattack and Furious Charge, which is unique to him. You're getting Mining the Machine, which is a very nice rule. And the Firing Eternals are just nice fluff to have. Speaking of those things, it happens automatically. Just keep in mind if you have more than one squad, which squad it is. And while it is nice, I'm not one to want to assault with Immortals. I would want to shoot as much as I can with them. So I wouldn't necessarily go assaulting, but having those rules is nice. In a pinch, they can be useful. So, there's two modes of using Anrakyr. One is on foot, and this is probably the most thought of mode for Necron special characters, is putting them on foot, or Necron Overlord special characters. In which case, you might as well throw him with his Immortals. It's kind of like his own little bodyguard unit. Or give him like Lich Guard. Either with War Scythe or with their shields and close combat weapon, power weapon thingy. Something like that. Is it Lich? Yeah, it is Lich Guard with shields, I think. Do that. Because they're pretty much meant for the assault. They make a very good bodyguard unit, obviously. And the Immortals, if you're working on points and you don't want to sink that many points into a Lich Guard type of unit, the Immortals you're probably going to have already. Put him with his Firing Eternals, it just fits with him. And before I talk about the second, which would be the way I would personally use him if I was using him as a special character, I want to mention his stat line real quick. His stat line, if you are observant, and by that I mean if you've watched the Emotech Stormland video right before this one, you'll have noticed he has basically the same exact stat line as Emotech, only he has a 3+ save as opposed to the 2+ save of Emotech. If you look at a generic Necron Overlord stat line, it's exactly the same as Anrakyr's. Now, this has always been a Necron thing. Even in their old codex, which didn't really have this much variation, it's always been kind of the idea of Necrons not really varying at all. It's just part of the Necrons thing. I can't really explain it better than that. It's fitting, it works, and that's why they do it again here. The stat line isn't bad. He just doesn't have the flair, the crazy, epic feeling flair of a high weapon skill or high ballistic skill. But what you make up for in not having that is you have a pretty good stat line across the board for all of your HQs and all of your army. So the good and the bad there. But anyway, I just wanted to point that out. Now, the way I would personally utilize Anrakyr the Traveler is by sinking more points into him and giving him a Catacomb Command Barge as a dedicated transport option. This makes him very versatile. It's an open top transport, so he can still, if I can talk properly, he could still take the pot shot, the opportunistic shot with his Tachyon Arrow, but it gives him increased speed and maneuverability. Now, if you're going to do that, you got to be careful. You don't want to set him out unsupported. You don't want to just Green Goblin it basically by himself. You're going to want some backup. Now, the classic approach and the one I'm most fond of is Destroyers, because I'm a big fan of Destroyers. But in a pinch, Tomb Blades can work. And as well, you could take Immortals in a Night, what's it called, Night Scythe, and have that move with them as well. So Tomb Blades, Immortals, Night Scythes, or even, what's it called, looking it up real quick, Doom Scythes can work as well. Just something to support them. Now, the Doom Scythe and the Night Scythe, with being, I believe, flyers now, it may be a bit hard to keep them in close support with him, but the Immortals being dropped off by a Night Scythe can be useful in hunkering down close up with him and giving good firing in close range firing that way. But Destroyers and Tomb Blades are probably the best ways to stay close with him. I prefer Destroyers, but if again points are an issue, the Tomb Blades can kind of do the same thing. So that's what I would do. I would have a nice core force, a nice strong core force of units that can take objectives and steadily advance forward to support you that way. Slowly get into range, or normal speed get into kind of range of supporting and whatnot, and having a quick group like a Destroyer group or whatever supporting Anrakyr on his Catacomb Command Barge. The Catacomb Command Barge, like I say, can get good positioning. The sweep attacks they can make, or he can make on them, very nice, and with his War Scythe especially. War Scythe is still a beast. And Mind of the Machine, it can set you up for a nice Mind of the Machine on the enemy's battle tanks. The enemy's battle tanks tend to be either up close, so that might not help too much if they're trying to be super aggressive with them, or they have short range. But if they tend to have long range with a big high strength weaponry, they tend to kind of keep them in the back and safe that way. So you have to fight through the enemy's army. But if you're able to Catacomb Command Barge over with some Destroyer backup, get them into good range, you can Mind of the Machine and have pretty much full run of the pickings, if you will, against the enemy's army with their own weapon. Just a thought. But anyways, that's how I would use Anrakyr. I would sink more points into him, give him a Catacomb Command Barge, support him with some Destroyers, build an army around that. And not even just one squad, maybe 2 squad of Destroyers. Maybe have him lead a rapid response, rapid assault, or not literally assaulting, rapid strike force, core of your, or group of your army, and then have the rest of your army kind of support that. And go from there. That's what I would do personally. But either way, whether you use him as Anrakyr or use him as a generic HQ, he's an awesome looking model. His point costs, I think, as they are now, are right at the upper echelons of being within the money, not being too expensive. If he had a phase shifter, he would definitely, I think, have to be at least 170, because this would be too much of a steal if he had a phase shifter, personally, just my opinion. Anyways, that's it for Anrakyr the Traveler. A pretty cool special character, a lot of fluff in him, which I like. I like seeing the fluff being incorporated in the special character's rule sets, and a very cool looking model. Anyways, that's it for Anrakyr the Traveler. Hope you've enjoyed, and if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section. If you have a request for a special character, leave it. Drop a line. If I did that character already, I'll get back to you and let you know. If not, you may see it come up next in Legends of 40K. Anyways, that's it. So until next time, take it easy.